Hey, it's Katarina, Charleston Realtor, and today I'm answering the top questions people have about living here in Charleston, South Carolina. I actually used an AI tool to scrape thousands of comments from YouTube videos about Charleston, so these are the top questions people ask. The first question is, how affordable is Charleston, particularly regarding housing costs and wages? I'll be honest, Charleston is certainly not cheap, especially compared to 5 or 10 years ago. But affordability also depends on where you're looking. So the median sales price for the greater Charleston area is about $430,000. But depending on where you look, that can be a lot higher or a little lower. If you're looking at living in downtown Charleston or Mount Pleasant, for example, then the prices will be higher. But if you go a little inland with places like Goose Creek and Somerville, you can definitely find a more affordable home. And while unfortunately wages haven't kept pace with prices, but that seems to be a problem nationwide, but if you're a remote worker or moving here with the military, that can make things a little easier. So whether it's affordable depends on who you ask and where you come from, as it's still much cheaper than big cities like New York or states like California, but I do think it is above the national average as far as cost of living. However, there are still good pockets of value if you know where to look. The next question is, how severe are the traffic congestion and infrastructure issues, and what are typical commute times? Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, traffic has gotten horrible in the Charleston area, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is known for its traffic too. But what I will say is I personally don't think I could ever handle the commute from Somerville to downtown Charleston. What should be a 30-minute drive turns into over an hour, sometimes even an hour and a half just to get downtown. So in that regard, traffic's not great. And infrastructure is a tough one because we have a lot of bridges connecting the different areas, and those can't be easily expanded. There are some infrastructure projects in the works, but those are long-term, so it'll be a while before we start to see those changes. Somerville definitely has the worst commute time, but if you're in somewhere like Mount Pleasant, for example, it's a little better. You're looking at about a solid 30 minutes, I would say, no matter what suburb you're in if you're going to downtown Charleston. But you can be lucky and sometimes get the reverse commute. So we have a friend that lives in West Ashley and works in Ladson, and his commute is a breeze because all the traffic is going the opposite way. So it totally just depends on where you're working and what times you're working. Third question is, what are the risks and necessary preparations for hurricane season, flooding, and related coastal weather concerns? So there is a hurricane season. It's June through November of each year, but that does not mean there's a hurricane every year. But the biggest thing here in Charleston is flooding, which you probably hear on the news. But what I will say is the news plays up the flooding in Charleston. They take the worst places of downtown Charleston and make it seem like the whole area is underwater. So that is a bit of an exaggeration, but there are some valid concerns about flooding. And then a couple other places like on James Island and West Ashley have experienced some flooding too, but there have been some more drainage projects in the works, and Charleston just improved its seawall. So the city does have this in mind and is trying to mitigate against flooding, but being so close to sea level means it is a concern. When it comes to hurricanes in general, you need to know to prepare is to have storm shutters ready or plywood to board your windows if you're worried about that. Another big thing is tree limbs. That seems to be the most damage that happens, especially with tropical storms. So trimming back tree limbs that are hanging over your roof or cutting down dead trees will make sure that there's less damage to your property. Another thing about flooding, when you go to buy a house, you'll know which flood zone your home is in. If it's in the high-risk flood zone, flood insurance will actually be required with your loan, and there's a higher likelihood of it flooding. Question 4 is, how challenging are the summer heat and humidity, and how prevalent are pests like palmetto bugs? In case you don't know what a palmetto bug is, I'll enlighten you. It's a cute little name for cockroaches that live in the palmetto trees here. Sorry to ruin the beautiful aesthetic of the palmetto trees. So even if your house is clean, you'll probably see a palmetto bug every once in a while, but don't panic. There are plenty of pest control companies to help mitigate against this, and if you keep a clean environment, there's less likelihood that your house will be overrun with pests. Termites are actually pretty common here too, which is why CL 100 reports when you're buying a home are essential for making sure there are no issues. And the mosquitoes are pretty bad. My friend that just moved here from Florida said they're actually worse here than they were in Florida. As far as the heat and humidity, I feel like this depends on what you're used to. If you've already lived in the South, I feel like it's not that much worse than other places. If you're moving from a more dry environment, then it might be harder for you. It's hard for me to say, having always lived in the South, because I'm from North Carolina. But in peak summer, like August, you'll just have to accept that when you walk out of the door, you'll just start sweating. The next one is the city losing its historic charm and small town feel due to rapid growth and heavy tourism? I hear locals say this all the time, and anyone who lived here 20 years ago is like, Charleston isn't what it used to be. And while that's true, are there any small town cities that have not changed over the past 20 years? Are there any cute little historic towns that offer good job opportunities that haven't blown up in value? Charleston's always kind of been a tourism market, so I feel like that hasn't changed too much, but the rapid growth is felt more in issues like traffic, like I talked about, and natives getting priced out with the cost of living, so I can see why people say that. But I still think Charleston still has a lot of historic charm, especially if you go downtown. It still has the cobblestone streets and that small town feel, and people are really friendly with that southern hospitality, so I personally don't think it's lost its historic charm. The next question is, what is the overall lifestyle, social environment, and level of southern hospitality like for new residents? This is one of these things where I feel like you'll get what you put into it. If you put yourself out there and go to fun places, then you'll meet people who are like-minded and like doing the same things. But if you move here and just stay in your house all the time, then you probably won't notice it. But I do feel like people are pretty welcoming here in general, other than all the people that say we're full. But there's a huge transplant crowd, especially in neighborhoods like Cane Bay. So many people have moved there from other states and are looking for that community vibe. So if you're looking for a neighborhood with community events and a neighborhood pool and lots of amenities, chances are other people in that neighborhood feel the same way and will also want to get to know people in their neighborhood. And even despite all the rapid growth, I found most locals still are friendly. My past clients and friends do say there's a noticeable difference between people in the north and the south. Well, the good thing about Charleston is it's pretty good weather almost all of the year, so it might get a little chilly in the winter, so you still can take advantage of things like the beaches and parks. As far as cultural events, we have a growing number of festivals every year, such as the Oyster Festival, the Latin American Festival, food truck festivals, riverfront revivals, all kinds of things like that. And then dining options are pretty much limitless. Here in Charleston, it's known for its food scene, so the only drawback is you might have to make reservations in advance because of how popular it is to go out to eat. I'd say we have pretty diverse options in dining, but it is mostly Southern food, so seafood, fried food, and like general American. Number 8, how strong and diverse is Charleston's economy and job market across different industries? So I feel like Charleston's actually improved in this regard. We have a pretty wide number of industries, which is great if we're looking towards recessions in the future. So we have aerospace with Boeing, tech, healthcare with MUSC in Roper St. Francis, manufacturing with major car companies like Volvo and Mercedes-Benz, and of course the military with Joint Base Charleston. And then we also have the Port of Charleston, which is a huge economic factor. And even bigger companies like Google are investing billions of dollars into infrastructure here in South Carolina. So I would say the economy is pretty strong for how small Charleston is. As far as the job market, it is a little tougher. If you're moving here without a remote job or without something lined up, I would expect a lot of competition. So do some homework before relocating to make sure the job that you want exists and that you have a chance of getting it. And then some jobs like nursing actually pay less because they know people want to live here and are willing to take a little less to move here. Question 9 is, what is the tax situation in South Carolina, particularly concerning property taxes and benefits for retirees? Property taxes here are pretty low compared to most states, which is a good benefit, but only if it's your primary residence. So here we have higher taxes on a home that's not your primary residence. So an investment property or second home or whatever, you'll pay triple the property taxes. So just something to keep in mind. And then we do have sales tax and state income tax. So when you go shopping, you'll definitely feel that. And sometimes there's an additional local tax. So it could be like a 9% tax. But overall, if you take in all the factors, South Carolina's taxes are pretty middle of the road overall, but property taxes are along the lowest in the country. Oh, we also do have to pay yearly taxes on our vehicles, which not every state does, but there are no vehicle inspection requirements. As far as retirees, there is a homestead exemption for seniors, which can lower that property tax bill even more. The last question is, what is the quality and reputation of the public school system in the major residential areas? This one's more tricky because as a realtor, I can't legally rate schools, but I can tell you where to research. So websites like schooldigger.com and niche.com let you compare test scores, rankings, and parent reviews so you can get a feel for the schools. And the different districts vary a lot in what school programs they offer between Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties. So I'd recommend researching what fits your priorities. So those are the internet's top 10 questions about Charleston, answered by someone who actually lives and works here. If you're thinking about moving here and have more questions, or just curious what Charleston living is really like, feel free to reach out. And I also just added a relocation guide to my website. So if you go to my website in the description, you'll be able to read more about each area and some things to expect about Charleston. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.